world is changing rapidly. Fiber optic and wireless broadband are shaping our lives. New technologies keep emerging. Cloud storage, social networking, and smart living have become popular. How will technology improve our lives? Will we be even more connected? And how will our kids communicate? However the world changes, HKT will stay committed to building the future for you. Entrust us with your living and communications needs.
Well done.
HKT, building for tomorrow, today.
Direct Asia, best price guaranteed on car insurance. That's a wrap. DirectAsia.com, best price guaranteed on car insurance. Easy.
No one knows what their potential may be. So let's ensure an untainted society that offers them fair opportunities. A clean future for our next generation. For 40 years, Hong Kong's advantage has been you and the ICAC.
They came to our world together, destined to take different paths.
Can we keep it?
I was always the odd man out, the last one picked.
Bring out the Black Mamba. Our glorious rival was born. We all know how this ends, with you behind bars. I'm shaking!
Friday, Oriental Watch Company presents Mega Mart on Pearl's Friday Attractions.
We haven't ruled out anything in the two reports. We do not make choices in this exercise.
Leung Chun-ying insists civic nomination not ruled out over political reform. Fatalities as explosion rocks bus in Guangzhou. And Luis Felipe Scolari resigns as Brazil coach after World Cup disappointment. Good evening. Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying today submitted a report on political reform to the National People's Congress Standing Committee, kick-starting the process towards universal suffrage. The report says there's a need to change the way the chief executive is chosen in 2017. And Leung insisted civic nomination has not been ruled out. But the CE says there's no need to change the basic law when it comes to the 2016 LegCo election. Evelyn Leung has more.
The five-step process of Hong Kong's constitutional reform began today. Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying's report was submitted to the National People's Congress Standing Committee in Beijing. Here in Hong Kong, Leung outlined his report on the road towards universal suffrage. Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam also unveiled a report on the first stage of public consultation. The CE's report points out that Hong Kong is generally eager to see the implementation of universal suffrage in the 2017 chief executive election. The discussion should be made in accordance with the Basic Law and the relevant interpretation and decisions of the NPC Standing Committee. It also says the community generally agrees that the chief executive is someone who loves the country and loves Hong Kong. Some did suggest that CE candidates should be nominated through civic nomination and party nomination. But the mainstream opinion is that the Basic Law has clearly stipulated that only the nominating committee has the power to nominate CE candidates. There are also suggestions to increase the size of the nominating committee to a maximum of 1,600, up from 1,200 in the election committee in 2012. Yet there are also views that the size of the nominating committee should remain the same. And society generally agrees the successful implementation of universal suffrage in the 2017 election is a precondition for future LegCo elections by universal suffrage. But it's generally agreed that there is no need to amend the basic law regarding the method of forming the council in 2016. The chief executive denied a civic nomination in the 2017 CE election has been ruled out, insisting no decision has been made at this stage.
We haven't ruled out anything in the two reports. While we have views about whether civic nomination is in compliance with the provision of the basic law, we do not make choices in this exercise.
Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam today briefed legislators about the government's report on the constitutional reform public consultation and the CE's report to the NPC Standing Committee. But despite having recognised that some in Hong Kong want direct popular nomination of CE candidates, there are still divisions on the issue. A nod of recognition to the pan-democratic camp as Carrie Lam briefed legislators on the content of the two reports.
It is worth noting that after the consultation period, there were still considerable views as expressed through participation in polling activities held by civic organizations and the July 1st rally that the element of civic nomination should be included.
She added that those views will be conveyed to Beijing, but radical pan-democrats were not buying it. Leung Kwok Hung was kicked out of the meeting after he threw a prop birdcage and a hammer at the chief secretary. He was followed by Albert Chan, who expressed his discontent by tearing up the consultation report.
It was quite clear, the majority view of the Hong Kong people, they do not want any screening, of the candidacy. But this report didn't show that. So it is quite clear this is a fake one.
Inside, pro-establishment legislators expressed their support for the report.
Over 5 months you have conducted there were over 500 consultation sessions, so I think you've taken on board the views from different sectors. So I would say it's a rather complete picture.
Speaking after the meeting, Labour Party lawmakers were particularly disappointed at hints that the introduction of universal suffrage for all LegCo seats will have to wait until after the 2017 CE election.
It is outrageous that the report distorts public opinion. Is common knowledge, I would say, very much a consensus among the people of Hong Kong that we should abolish functional constituency.
Lee added, however, that the reports do not completely shut the door on civic nomination, which he says is a victory achieved by the Occupy Central Poll and the July 1st rally. His hopes were echoed by students and human rights activists.
After the 1st of July rally and also the civil referendum, you can see that their attitude become quite moderate, and they didn't want to kill the civil nomination directly. So we believe that direct actions of the citizens can change our fate.
To other news, a bus explosion in Guangzhou killed 2 people and injured at least 25. The blast occurred at around 7:30 this evening. A witness said the packed bus running on route 301 had pulled over at a stop on Guangzhou Avenue when the explosion happened. The vehicle burst into flames. Passengers waiting at the bus stop were among those hurt. No word yet on what caused the blast. A subway train derailed in Moscow today, killing at least 20 people and injuring 150. The disaster happened during the morning rush hour. Authorities say a power surge triggered an alarm, causing the train to stop abruptly. It was stuck between 2 stations as several cars derailed inside a tunnel. About 200 people were evacuated. Passengers said they saw smoke and that they were trapped. Some managed to escape by walking along the tracks inside the tunnel. Officials don't believe foul play was involved. Bold moves ahead of today's BRICS summit in Brazil. The 5 emerging market powers plan to launch their own version of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. Plus, President Xi Jinping has vowed to secure better representation for all BRICS nations. Here's Sonia Artero.
BRICS leaders from Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are meeting for the bloc's 6th summit in the Brazilian city of Fortaleza today and Wednesday. Most BRICS countries suffer from an economic downturn. This is why Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff and Russian President Vladimir Putin have put signing off on the creation of a development bank #1 on their agenda. Fed up with the U.S. dominating the global financial system, the new development bank will give BRICS countries an alternative source of finance from the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. Some economists give the move a thumbs up.
Last few years, the BRICS still contributed close to half of global growth. So that's how much. That's in terms of how much contribution these countries are contributing.
Notwithstanding China, other economists insist BRICS countries are in economic turmoil.
Almost all the BRICS countries now facing difficulties. So I think this time it's really indeed to sit down to discuss the issue, to discuss the future about BRICS, because now currently people are kind of joking. BRICS now only one maybe BRIC left, it's China.
Shanghai is said to be on the top of the list for the bank's headquarters, and Russia is vying for the first 5-year presidency. As for China's contribution, President Xi Jinping made certain promises. He said China will dedicate itself to perfecting the role of developing countries play in international affairs to give them better representation and a greater say. Xi also pledged to build stronger ties with India and South Africa. He also added that he and President Putin will jointly promote the development of the China-Russia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. Sonia Artero, TVB News.
Israel has resumed its airstrikes on Gaza after Hamas militants rejected a ceasefire brokered by Egypt. Plumes of smoke could be seen over Gaza City as rockets once again batter the area. A military spokesman said during the 6 hours Israel observed the de-escalation, 50 rockets were launched at its cities. The Egyptian ceasefire offer called for a halt of hostilities as of this morning. It would have been followed by negotiations on easing the closure of Gaza's borders. The closure has been enforced by both Israel and Egypt to varying degrees since Hamas seized the territory in 2007. The last week of fighting has killed more than 190 Palestinians and exposed millions of Israelis to rocket fire from Gaza. To Afghanistan, where a suicide bomber blew up a car packed with explosives near a busy market and a mosque, killing 89 people and injuring more than 40. It's one of the country's deadliest attacks since the 2001 US-led invasion. The bloodshed happened in Paktika province in eastern Afghanistan, not far from the border with Pakistan. Officials say the bomber detonated his vehicle as he drove by the crowded market. Many of the victims were buried under the rubble. The blast also destroyed more than 20 shops and dozens of vehicles. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack. British Foreign Secretary William Hague has announced his surprise resignation with immediate effect. Hague has been Britain's most senior diplomat for the past 4 years. He will assume a more junior role that will involve him coordinating the government's business in the lower house of Parliament, and he will leave Parliament next year. Hague will be replaced by current Defence Secretary Philip Hammond. It's part of sweeping changes to British Prime Minister David Cameron's cabinet ahead of what's expected to be a closely fought national election next May. Back locally, legislators passed the stamp duty amendment bill this evening following days of debate at LegCo. Earlier today, lawmakers approved an amendment to exempt non-permanent residents from the double stamp duty when they buy public housing flats under the tenants purchase scheme. More on that from Rani Samtani.
The controversial amendment to the stamp duty bill was passed after hours of debate, but lawmakers from the Federation of Trade Unions expressed concerns about the side effects of the move.
We can see that there are loopholes in the DSD net, and we are afraid that the market will have the message that the DSD is useless or is not effective at all, so that we are afraid that the market prices will be stimulated.
The amendment proposed by Democratic Party legislator Wu Chi-wai allows non-permanent residents living in public housing flats to be exempted from the double stamp duty when they buy their units under the Tenants Purchase Scheme, or TPS. Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury Chen Ka-keung noted that there have been only 60 TPS cases involving non-permanent residents since the property cooling measure was implemented.
If we provide an exemption clause in the bill for transactions involving TPS